wishing the best for women because it is Women's Week. It's a great day worthy of celebration because we have very, very hard-working women out there doing their best to see that everyone lives in peace, progress, and happiness.
Celebrating women is a worthy cause because if you look at our women of this country or the women of this world, in any sector that you go, you find that women are doing very well in all sectors of development, being it social, political, economic. In all sectors that you go, women are doing very well, especially in the Gambia here. All the women that we have in the Gambia, if you go to the agricultural sector, if you go to the judiciary, education, all sectors of life, I'm even wondering, without women, where would we be at this time? I can say today my mentor is a woman because this is a woman who has given me hope, who have really have an impact into my life, who is no other person, that is Auntie Ndeye Jeng Jallow.
Auntie Ndeye is the lady sitting right in front of you here. Actually, my actual name is Auntie Ndeye Jallow, but most people call me Auntie Ndeye because of my love for children and my family. Even my husband calls me Auntie Ndeye. I'm the auntie to everybody. I was a teacher in the late 80s, in the late 60s, in the public schools, and for many, many years as head, and then also worked with Marina International for 13 years before my retirement, and that was what prompted me to really move on and start something on my own, because I gathered two experiences, the public sector experience and the international experience as a teacher, and I thought I would do better whenever I start my own project. So I started the school when I was even at Marina, and women should know you don't have much to start any program or any business. But when I started with only 2 kids, and I employed 1 teacher. So then I was in Marina, and I was working hand in hand with the teacher. From Marina, I come back to the house, prepare what the teacher should teach, look at what she's doing, and that was how I started. 2 kids. And from there, before the end of the term, it ended up to 9. And that was how the school grew up. And then we move on and on from the daycare to nursery. And then the nursery was packed full in the end, because right now I have about 10 classes in the nursery section, and I have a daycare nursery as well, and a primary. So from the primary, now I am also starting a high school already. It has already started. We haven't got space, a high school land, but we housed Form 1 and Form 2 in the primary section. Presently we're building a high school, and it will be ready before the end of the academic year. By September, inshallah, the children will move over, and more students will be registered to join the high school.
She has really contributed immensely to the educational system of this country, the Gambia. And also she has been in the system, and now I think, though to be retired, not yet retired, but still strong, and also still contributing to the educational factor. And thank God, with the school, she has been able to do very well. And I know the sky still remains the limit, which is the motto of the school. We are trying our best in all ways, and we are doing all we can to make sure that at least she becomes happy when she relaxes and puts her back on the ground. She's a good mother. I call her my mother. She's a good mother. She's kind, she's loving, she's gentle, and I see that, and I hope all mothers will be the same, the way she is.
So Auntie Ndeye is a very wonderful woman, whom you know he has the passion for children. That is why she established this, to make sure that every child in the community here is treated rightly.
Because of her leadership, so many good things have been happening. I am a testimony to that, because my children, there have been so much improvement in their learning, in their effectiveness in all that they do.
They do what?
Jeremiah, in the small school.
Oh, Jeremiah is your sibling.
She's so free to talk to. She's the best principal that we ever had. She's so comfortable to talk to, and she's so free.
Yes. Mr. San, how are you? What's happening? You waiting to be picked up? You're not going home yet. Okay, that's good.
When we have problems, sometimes we talk to her, and she talks to us very well. She advises us to do the right thing and to look forward to our future. She's a great woman. When I grow up, I wish to be like her. I want to help others and to make my parents proud of me.
I must say thank you to Allah for having a proprietress like Mrs. Ndeye Jallow, who is so hardworking, dedicated, and will never stay away from school even when sick. That is why she had a nickname. We always call her Auntie Tough Tough. Then one moment she will be in school and say, I am going to look out for something. The next 20 minutes she will be here with that and satisfy all teachers' needs. She is very hard working, very lenient with us, encouraging us, asking us to be conscious all the time, asking us to put the children number one.
After finishing school, I met this woman, and she has brought he has bring that self-esteem out of me, and I'm still making best use of that, and I've learned a lot from this woman. She's very caring. She's very concerned. Working with her is another experience that even after working with her, you can use from life after her. Honestly, I have learned a lot from her, and she has even taught me ideas that I've never learned during my conventional schooling. And definitely, Auntie Ndeye Jallow, working with her is very amazing, because you have to satisfy her. She's very strict. Sometimes you may thought that she overdo things. Yes, but that's natural. If one thing to be done properly, you don't just sit down and lean and just be watching. You have to be on the ground, which you always do. She's always in the ground with me. I don't know the right adjective that I could even use to describe her, honestly. Because working with her has taught me a lot. Wherever I go, I know that I will comfortably work. Any school that I go today, I will comfortably say that, because I've attended many schools. I've been to public schools, I've attended some private schools, But the experience that I learned from her, even I use it to other institutions that I even attended, they were surprised. And I didn't learn that from college or from any other institution. I learned that directly from her. Because when I was starting with her, she would come to the class and look at me, go through my books, what am I doing with the kids, monitoring. So she's always on my toes, to make sure that I did the right thing. And she's very concerned with the child's welfare. So this is what I know about her. And I think these are the type of people that the government should look into, the ministry also should look into, the educational sector, all stakeholders.
She is never tired. She will come in the morning, first thing in the morning, Monday. She will ask about the schemes, lesson notes. She doesn't want to see any teacher without tools in the classroom. Without efficient tools, without efficient apparatus, teaching aids, without efficient materials to make the children to touch, to feel, to investigate, and arrive at the right conclusion. She's a woman like that.
Actually, working with her has been great and amazing. She's one of the best people you can ever work with. She's strict, always doing her work, wants people to do her work. And at home, she's one of the phenomenal women. She's strong, handling her husband, and adult kids like me too.
So this Women's Week, we hope that it's going to be a lesson for all the women there to emulate people like Adide Jallow. She is a hard-working lady, an icon for hope and motivation. She is a needle and thread for all the staffs. She does everything good to see that every staff live in comfort and happiness. That is why I always emulate her, and she is our mentor.
The Gambia National Petroleum Corporation is the country's national oil company. For the past 17 years, GNPC has continued to deliver excellent services to all Gambians, from individuals to corporate clients. At GNPC, you are guaranteed the best quality fuel in the Gambia. Visit our stations and stop by our auto spare parts store, where you can find petroleum and lubricant products, wiper blades, and many more. All these provided without delay. With 10 service stations located throughout the country and still counting, GNPC gives you the best customer service anywhere, anytime. Think fuel, think GNPC, Gambia. It is now time to take ownership of what we own. GNPC, Nyokomom, the Gambia, our homeland.
Now, I don't know much what is going on in the public sector at the moment, but for the private schools, I can just highlight the problems we are going through during this COVID period. So some schools suffered, some teachers had to leave their schools because they were not paid, and there are only a few schools who were really ready and made sure that we kept money for incidences like that. We were able to maintain our teachers by paying them their basics. So it's always good for government to turn around when there are crises, to also look at schools in all sectors, because we are all serving Gambian children. We are all here for the Gambians. So definitely we need their support, and they also have to consider us whenever issues come up and we need support. We have to come to our aid and help us.
So these are the type of people we should even emulate. These are the type of people government should even look into. These people, give them support, because they are making a lot of impact in the ordinary people's life, in the young people, upcoming people like me, like children, school-going children. She's investing the little that she has, she's maintaining it to develop education to the best level at a very cheaper rate, at a very lower rate compared to other institutions. So these are the people that we need to support.
And I have great concern, not only supervising and monitoring and participating in the running of the school, I am also very much concerned about my family and what they eat. I come to school, you see me 1 o'clock running around. Sometimes I go to the market, tough. Quick, I go and cook. I make sure that they have the best meal all the time, which is also part of my responsibility. If you run around, you don't take care of your family, at the end of the day, I don't think you will have a healthy and a happy family. Apart from my daily running around, my official duties, I'm a mom, I'm a housewife, I'm a committed housewife. I cook and make sure that my family is well taken care of. Especially Fridays, when it's a holiday, my husband is imam, he comes home with some of his friends to have lunch. So I make sure that I cook enough. I'm a woman with a big heart. My lunch is a very special Benedict, Friday Benedict for my husband and friends and family. So I'm going to dish out. So I say, That's yummy, yummy.
Behind every hardworking human, there is always a hardworking and supportive man behind. And that implies that behind our able head, that's Antinde Jallo, behind her there is someone who is always helpful, motivative, and that is Uncle Imam Hussein Jallo.
My wife, Mrs. De Jallo, we met in 1968 and we decided to get married. I was then getting ready to go to university. And I went to university and came back, and I still found that I wanted her to be my wife. And I'm glad I did not make the wrong choice. That was the right choice I made. We have now lived together for several years. We have been blessed with 4 children. Unfortunately, the eldest of them, Ali Badra, passed away in 1994. Sorry, in 1997. May God have mercy on him and on all those who are our relatives who have passed away. For us, Mrs. Jallo and I, it's been a very happy and very fruitful relationship. We have worked together as young teachers. I just finished university work and she had just finished teacher training college. And we have been together developing our family and developing our well-being. In effect, we have done very well for ourselves. We have contributed greatly towards the development of education. We own 4 schools in this country now. We are also giving a lot of scholarships to people who are worthy and have good relationship with our families and anyone we find wanting to for support and for particularly for those who want scholarships or to go for further education. We are working in all these areas and we will continue to do so by the will of God. But I particularly on this occasion would like to thank her for being a very worthy partner. She has been very faithful, very kind, and very understanding, and quite a very religious person. And perhaps that is what has kept her in this marriage. Most marriages fail because there is no religion. It's just a relationship, not religion. But for us, thank God, we have been guided by the Islamic religion and we have lived together for years. And we hope we live more for many more years, worship Allah and do what we can for this nation, for our people, and for all humanity.
And men should support us and respect our roles. Because for men, they go to the office, they work, they bring money, and we support them as well. Wherever they give 10, we can also put in our $5 to make sure that ends meet. And the extra role we have, the men don't have it. They don't have it. We go to work, we come to the house, we cook, we run other errands, family errands, and they should really respect us and give us all the support we need. So I'm appealing to the men to also make sure that they also do their part by not giving us, but supporting, caring and loving us. That would really keep us going. So this much I have to appeal to my husbands and brothers to make sure that they really give us the support. They are doing it, but I know some men really don't do that much. So I'm appealing to everybody to make sure that they give us that support.
So I say bravo and thank you to her for the encouragement and the style, the zeal of work she has put into all the teachers in the school. So I am wishing all female teachers, all women throughout the whole world a successful 2020, good health, and a prosperous 2021.
Yes, what I'm tell all the women is let them keep on working hard. What they are doing, no one has their pay, but God will reward them, you know. And the women of this world, particularly the women of the Gambia, like the like of Antindai, the like of the Adelaide Sources, we tell them to open up, yeah, like Antindai is doing, expanding, you know, bringing in many people, you know, to share the little that they have. I mean, it does not stop only with them, but they are sharing with everybody. So I'm telling all the women of this country that thank you very much, happy celebration. We wish them all the best. They are our mothers, they are our wives. So we wish them good luck.
Women are the pillars of the country. Every woman have good work they are doing, and when you see them, they are they contribute more to the growth and development of the country. So I wish you all a happy Women's Day, and I pray that the Lord will give you the strength, the grace to be able to continue forth in everything you do.
I want to wish all the women a happy International Women's Day, all the mothers and all the single mothers a happy International Women's Day.
I have to say a very good celebration and happy Women's Day. Women in this world, not only Gambia. Everybody they've seen how the women struggle. We work hard, we struggle. So for that, I say congratulations to all women and wish them a happy celebration. And may we all witness many, many, many celebrations in the future.
It's a great thing that we have a woman like Antindai in our school. And if I grow up, I want to be like her. I'm wishing every woman a happy Women's Day. I'm wishing Antindai, Mrs. Abebaku, Auntie Nene, and Auntie Bintu, and my lovely mom too. I'm wishing her a happy day. I pray that she will be here when I could become success. I love you, Mommy.
The Gambia has been a beneficiary of the Climate Investment Fund's pilot program for climate resilience, which is called PPCR. This is a preparatory grant that was initially handed out to 6 countries. They developed an investment plan of X number of years, and then they would be giving funding at the end of the development of this plan to implement it, to build resilience of the country, both at the community level and regional up to national level. The Gambia has been given a 1.5 million grant. I think this was back in 2015. And we've managed to use this to develop a strategic investment plan called the SPCR. This SPCR is also directly linked to the National Climate Change Policy and has provided interventions under each of the pillars that I mentioned earlier. Agricultural landscapes, energy, land use planning, etc. And each of these is having components which could be considered as a project. The entire portfolio of the SPCR is about $330 million, and in 2017 I successfully presented it to the World Bank in their headquarters in Washington, and they endorsed it and approved it. Unfortunately, because now there are more countries that are part of this program, and because of the global financial constraints, they were not able to fund countries directly. But nonetheless, the Gambia is extracting proposals from that investment plan, developing it into a full proposal and looking for alternative sources of funding, such as the Green Climate Fund. The PPCR has been very useful in the sense that it has helped us train farmers on climate-smart agriculture before the rainy season a few years ago. We've also trained the media on climate change and media reporting. We've also had a climate change week for students around the country, from Basse all the way to Katong. And we've trained some of the office staff, short-term training, I think about 8 staff or so. And we've had many workshops, many sensitization programs, and even the National Assembly members were also trained on the national climate change policy, because they need to know some of the policies that are in existence, especially with regard to climate change, and what role they can play as representatives of grassroots communities. And there's been training for farmers to inform them of what is climate-smart agriculture. Climate-smart agriculture is agriculture which some can call conservative agriculture, where you practice measures that control the moisture you have, the amount of moisture you have, the amount of fertilizer you use, etc. But it's all geared towards making sure that your output you have, or the yield, is a substantial one, and it's more than, science has proven that it's normally more than what you get from just conventional agricultural practice. We've also done 4 technical studies, one of them a vulnerability assessment, which was done at the tail end of last year. Because it's like going to the hospital, you need to have a diagnosis first of what is the problem of the Gambia. with regards to each region, because we are all different. And then we had another technical study on what are the most appropriate or what are proposed livelihoods that could be introduced to some of these areas, and even to look at what is working. Because one thing we always forget to do is to look at what is working and then trying to expand that or scale it up. So that has already been done. And very importantly, considering a lot of what I've said has revolved around rainfall, crop production, losses, etc. We're also looking at trying to implement having a crop-based insurance in the Gambia. This crop-based insurance, I'm sure you would be based on climatic parameters. If there's rainfall below a certain amount, then farmers within a certain region would be paid out, would be given a payout. So, and I think this is something that is highly important. Currently, the Gambia is part of the Africa Risk Capacity, which is a regional crop-based insurance scheme being organized at the African Union level. And the Gambia is a party to that, but has yet to receive a payout because we have not had years where the rainfall went below the threshold. But countries like Mauritania and Senegal have benefited from this scheme. So we're trying to see now how can we nationalize this. And with this, we have been discussing with the central bank, the insurance association, etc., to try and see how in the next 3 to 4 years we can have something like this in the Gambia. So these are just some of the interventions that we're doing. They are multifaceted. It's not just sensitization or just training, but looking at the whole picture, because climate change, as I keep repeating, it affects every sector. So the response to that needs to be holistic and robust, cannot just be piecemeal. The ecosystem-based adaptation project is a very important project because it's the first project that has been approved by the current funding mechanism under the climate change framework known as the Green Climate Fund. I was lucky to have worked heavily on its development, and it's probably, you can say, it's the flagship project for the ministry at the moment, because we are trying to, as I mentioned, deforest almost 10,000 hectares around the country, as well as also providing entrepreneurship training and equipment for 125 communities around the country. And it's also looking to build on the capacity of institutions, because that is something that is always, there's always space to improve that. Especially the Department of Forest and Department of Parks and Wildlife and the Department of Community Development. They are the 3 institutions that are implementing this under the ministry in collaboration with the ministry. The project is extremely important, and it's looking to have a lot of impact because it's supporting the Department of Forestry, for example, to revamp most of its forestry stations around the country. Also to create nurseries around the country so that communities in anywhere in the country, wherever you are, you can have access to seedlings so that you can be involved in the fight to reforest the Gambia. Because I remember when I first started working, the Gambia was a net sink with regards to emissions. Our forest cover was enough, and what we are emitting was very low, so it was almost considered zero. It was a balance between what we are emitting and what we are conserving. But now that our forest cover is dwindling, we are now emitting, although it's still a negligible amount of almost 0.001%. But nonetheless, we still have to be part of the movement to reduce the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. So the benefits are numerous, and as I mentioned, in the NDP, the climate change and environment sector is an enabler. It's considered as a critical enabler, meaning that if all things are well, then it supports the overall development process. But if the environment sector is degrading, then it also has an impact across all the other sectors with regards to how much development can be made within that time. Climate change, I think, is natural. There's 2 types of climate change: natural variation and what they call anthropogenic, a very long word, but it just means human-caused climate change. And basically started from the Industrial Revolution in the West, where they had to develop quickly using fossil fuels, that the byproduct of which was greenhouse gases, which after there's a certain concentration in the atmosphere causes the world to heat faster. So that is basically the problem. And what we have contributed to it is minimal. The Gambia is not at fault for climate change, nor is any African country, but it's mainly European and Western countries that have polluted the atmosphere. That's why we now require them to support us in terms of how we can get out of that situation. With regards to the problems in the Gambia are numerous. We've seen flooding episodes in the last 10 years. We've had a lot of flooding in Ibo Town, in Basse. You can determine whether it's due to poor land use planning or whether it's due to intensive rainfall. That's up to you. But I mean, obviously the rainfall plays a very big part, as well as land use planning. We have agricultural crop failures, I would like to call it that. For example, I've cited 2011 and some other years where we had very low output from the agriculture sector because the rainfall was not good enough. Even last year we had, I believe, less than almost 2 full months of rainfall, if not. And because we experienced a lot of dry spells in between. This has a feedback because when people invest all their money into the agriculture sector and it fails, they are forced to enter the natural resource base, such as forest, etc., and prepare charcoal or cut trees for timber, etc., which also make the problem even worse because part of the problem of climate change is that we don't have, where you have a lot of trees, you normally have a lot of exchange of water between the ground and the atmosphere. Most people don't know this. But when you have less trees, and I mean like ancient trees, if you go to Casamas, you check countries like Sierra Leone, countries like Ivory Coast, they have a lot of rainfall compared to us because they have more forest cover. So I think that's something that the government needs to look at again. And one of the major challenges we have is timber. Timber benefits few people, but then many people suffer. And I think if you go across the country, most communities are finding this as an issue because they've all realized that the benefits are not for everyone, but the brunt of the problem is carried by everyone. So I think this is something that we can try to improve, to regulate, if not stop completely. Because on one hand, we have international taxpayer money, over $25 million given to us to reforest our country. And on the other hand, we are cutting down trees, whether here or in another country, and re-exporting them. So it doesn't send out a very good picture of what we're trying to do. So I think we need to decide on what is our priority. That's one thing. Also, I mean, other measures can be brought in. For example, the issue of charcoal. Charcoal has been banned since 1981. But unfortunately, the use of charcoal is not banned. So it means you cannot make it, but you can use it. That creates demand for charcoal. And the biggest demand for charcoal is in this region, the western region. Myself, you listening or watching me, we are the ones who are guilty because we all cook using charcoal. In Senegal, what they managed to do was to subsidize the use of LPG gas for a few years to bring it down to a level where people could afford it. Then once people got used to this and then they managed to slowly reduce the production of charcoal, they now brought the prices back up and then everybody is now used to it, so they cannot change their mode of cooking. So I think we also need some innovative practices such as that to try and change the way people live. In fact, here we also have a lot of improved cook stoves. We have the Kumbagei, I think the other one is called Pendambai or something like that. These are cook stoves that have been developed in the Gambia by various NGOs, etc. But because of the prices, people find it difficult to buy it. But these cook stoves don't use charcoal. If they do use charcoal, they use a minimal amount of charcoal because they are more efficient. So I think this is also another area where government can support to either subsidize or at least promote the use of some of these products which are already available. Because they always say national problems require national solutions. So I think we have quite a few solutions floating around, but we just need to collate them and make them in a structured way.
The Gambia National Petroleum Corporation is the country's national oil company. For the past 17 years, GNPC has continued to deliver excellent services to all Gambians, from individuals to corporate clients. At GNPC, you are guaranteed the best quality fuel in the Gambia. Visit our stations and stop by our auto spare parts store where you can find petroleum and lubricant products, wiper blades, and many more. All these provided without delay. With 10 service stations located throughout the country and still counting, GNPC gives you the best customer service anywhere, anytime. Think fuel, think GNPC. Gambia. It is now time to take ownership of what we own. GNPC. Nyokomom. The Gambia, our homeland.
To be honest, there's been a lot of sensitization, but as the adage says, sensitization is a continuous process. You cannot just sensitize people once and stop there, because it takes a long time to change the mindset of a person. And we have, in collaboration with the Department of Water Resources, have done many sensitizations with regards to the climate change on itself. We've also done many sensitizations with regards to the policy and roles of local communities, regional governments, the media, etc. within that policy. And we've had workshops which are more interactive, where we've invited the media, trained them on climate change reporting, and then have group breakout sessions where people interact with each other to give them more of a practical feel of what they're doing. With the Ministry of Finance, under the Green Climate Fund Readiness, we also had a monthly radio session at Gambia Radio and Television Services and West Coast Radio, where each Friday, first Friday of each month, we would meet and talk about climate change, about projects that could come from the climate change area. And we would have a phone-in. People would phone in and express their interest and their comments and concerns. And it was very interactive, because we could see that people knew about climate change, but they did not know about the technicalities. So it was an opportunity for us to share this with people and get a common understanding. I think, of course, more sensitization needs to be done. I think the executive needs to be sensitized. The entire government basically needs to be sensitized to know that this is an imminent threat. I mean, look at COVID-19 right now. The amount of effort that the world has put into fighting COVID-19, if everybody united against climate change in this way, then I'm sure with time it would be a thing of the past. Climate change affects those who depend on natural resources the most, and that would have to be people in the rural setting. These are people who have to get water from a well or from the village. If there's not enough rain, that resource is limited. We've seen cases when we're developing a UGBA project, communities where they told us that sometimes it would get so dry that they would have to decide whether they drink or their animals drink. And I don't think that's a decision that any farmer needs to make, to be honest. So, I mean, these are some of the problems that we see all the time. And rural communities have less financial, technical, or in overall adaptive capacity to move out of the shocks that they experience. We had an incident a few years ago in Kuntawur, where there was a flooding because of surface runoff from Senegal, because it's a low-lying area, and also a lot of rain fell in that area over a short period of time. This also takes me back to the National Climate Change Fund, because I remember that the response of government at the time was perceived as a bit slow, but had it been that this national fund was created, then the local government actors in that area could have done something before government's actual national intervention got there. And this would have helped. And again, most of the people who suffered there are rural farmers. A lot of farms were inundated and other people's houses, material were washed away. So I think really it's very clear. And among the rural people as well, women and children are the most vulnerable, because we know in our country gender is still an issue that people are getting to grips with. And studies have shown over and over that women, for example, in the rural areas, women would have to walk kilometers to get water. They'd have to walk long distance to get firewood. So if there's a degradation of this environment, they would be the ones to suffer, because they would have to go longer distances or put in more efforts to get simple resources that we take for granted here in the capitals. I think we've made a lot of progress with regards to mobilizing resources. The Gambia has since '94 received more than $52 million, all in climate change. And if you look at the agriculture sector, it's more than that. I think the Nema Choso project was, just the Nema project was about $80 million or so. So that's a substantial amount of money. Although we can improve, we can always improve, because there are other areas that we have financial gaps. With regards to impact, I think our achievements, we've done quite a lot. I think one of our biggest achievements is having the national climate change policy, because this signals to everybody out there that the Gambia is taking climate change seriously, and have not just taken it seriously, but have developed a very organized and concerted framework that is robust and looks holistically at all sectors and their vulnerabilities, and also the potential for them to adapt to the issue of climate change. Also, I mean, with regards to projects, we've developed quite a few projects. The EBA project is one of the success stories, although it's currently under implementation. The PPCR project gave us our our strategic program, which is now the flagship program under the National Development Plan. We have a long-term strategy. Also, our global contribution to minimizing the impact of climate change is called the National Determined Contribution, or NDC. Every country has one. And according to the UNFCCC, Gambia and Morocco have the most ambitious NDCs that, if we implement it, would lead us to, we would achieve the targets of the Paris Agreement, which is a temperature increase of not more than 1.5 degrees centigrade. So I think definitely the Gambia is making a lot of progress. There is a lot of impact with regards to what we're doing, projects on the ground, but I think we can always improve. We can always improve by prioritizing the environment sector. As a ministry, I mean, I think we've made quite a few achievements, especially with regards to environment and climate change. Since '94 to date, we've managed to mobilize more than $52 million of international taxpayer money to support our drive to adapt to climate change. We've made a lot of progress. I remember, according to the UNFCCC, the National Determined Contribution of the Gambia, which is our the support we provide to the global drive to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, that the Gambia and Morocco had the most ambitious strategic documents, and that if we implemented it, this would go towards achieving the target of the Paris Agreement, which is a temperature increase of less than 1.5. Project-wise, also, we're always churning out new projects. Currently, we're working with WFP to have a new project called RICA, which is looking at adaptation in the agriculture sector, also around URR, CRR. We've mentioned the peace building project. We have our EBA project, which is a flagship project for Africa, basically. No other country in Africa has been given the opportunity to implement ecosystem-based adaptation with such a volume of money. So I think everybody else is watching the Gambia to see what we do. And we are a leader in the area of climate change. I mean, we've had previous ministers, Fatunde Gay, Pausman Jaju, and now we have Honorable Lamin Diba. And all of them have carried the flag for the Gambia with regards to climate change at the international level, and are all very highly respected people who whenever they speak, international donors and partners would listen.
The Gambia National Petroleum Corporation is the country's national oil company. For the past 17 years, GNPC has continued to deliver excellent services to all Gambians, from individuals to corporate clients. At GNPC, you are guaranteed the best quality fuel in the Gambia. Visit our stations and stop by our auto spare parts store, where you can find petroleum and lubricant products, wiper blades, and many more. All these provided without delay. With 10 service stations located throughout the country and still counting, GNPC gives you the best customer service anywhere, anytime. Think fuel, think GNPC. Gambia. It is now time to take ownership of what we own. GNPC. Nyokomom. The Gambia, our homeland.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my government's vision is detailed in the National Development Plan of the New Gambia. It's a country where the highest standard of good governance is upheld. Citizens enjoy access to basic services, and the enabling environment is created for the private sector to thrive.
Today, it's the turn of the West Coast region to officially receive this first-class dual carriage, which not only links Sukuta and Jambanjeli, but also passing through very important and rapid growing centers and settlements within the Kombo North District and linking Kombo South District.
I do agree with the governor that the Sukuta to Jambanjeli road is potentially is a major road corridor in the West Coast region that links the rural and peri-urban settings in Brikama municipality to the urban and settlements of Kanifi.
The main feature of these projects are: the highway is a length of 13 kilometers with 2x2 lane for a total of 19-meter width, and parking area at some sections, road markings and road signs, street lighting, water relocation services, demolition and reconstruction of affected fences and buildings. With all the inherent challenges, we are proud today to see the project through.
Distinguished guests, the National Development Plan 2018-2021, the NDP, is the blueprint that embodies the government's vision and priorities for national development. Building infrastructure, including expansion of the road network, is one of the strategic priorities of the NDP. The completion of the Sukuta to Jambanjeli dual carriageway is an important milestone in the infrastructural development of the Gambia, in particular, Kombo North and Kombo South.
The road starts in the vicinity of the Sukuta water treatment plants and runs through Jabang, Latiria, Jambur, and ends at Jambanjeli. As it is usually inherent in such complex project, construction of road has its fair share of challenges.
For some of you who may not know, the project was faced with a serious challenge in the form of a very large water main in the middle of the road. And the project had to seek additional funding to overcome this constraint.
The road has solved a major problem with transportation along the Sukuta to Jambanjeli route, surrounding villages and towns and beyond. As the project implementation agency, GAMWorks is proud of this achievement. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the implementation of the Sukuta to Jambanjeli route has been a collective effort by a number of entities who have worked closely together to bring about the success that we are celebrating today.
The importance of good road network and the need for it, especially in this region, cannot be overemphasized. This road will solely bring rapid development to our transport system that is much needed to support the national economic and social developments, not only for the West Coast region, but for the entire country. As you are already aware, that close to 37% of the total population of this country reside in the West Coast region, and this is growing by the day.
On behalf of the government and the people of the Gambia, I want to extend our sincere gratitude to the Islamic Development Bank for providing the financing for these important roads and other numerous development projects for the Gambia. I want to thank the Gambian Agency for the Management of Public Works, GAMWorks, for successfully implementing this road and other projects for government.
Ninsilo anafa mota express lano anafa momenti. Atko ilapta tala Kombo Santo Dauda o Kombo Central istana mela hajote amaslo block. Istana eboja eta Jambanjeli eta Birkam ilapta tala Dauda eta. Istana eta Jambanjeli eta Sanya eta Kunjure eta Kato efutata e Kombo ba.
So this road is without doubt one of the most welcome developments, and the benefits of which will, among others, will include quicker and more convenient access to the markets by our farming community, especially women farmers, is now assured. health facilities can also be easily reached during emergencies, and people can definitely get to their workplaces or businesses quicker and safer. These are just a few benefits of this important public good that the government is delivering to us today, and we are indeed grateful.
The Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure and the National Road Authority have also played an important role in providing overall policy guidance and monitoring of the construction. I therefore thank the staff of the ministry and NRA for their valuable inputs in this important project. The completion of the Sukuta to Jambanjeli Road is therefore an important achievement toward the realization of the goals of the National Development Plan. This achievement is due to the commitment, hard work and efforts of a number of partners and collaborators.
During the construction works, we had to demolish and shift some of the fences of compounds in some locations to make way for the road. I want to thank the residents of the villages along the road for their understanding and patience. There were other institutions and agencies who were involved in the project, such as NAWEC, the National Environment Agency, the Geology Department, the Ministry of Lands and Regional Government, the Department of Lands and Physical Planning. I thank these institutions.
I want to recognize the efforts of the consultants to the international, especially Mr. Karamo and Mahfouz Engineering, Mr. Haidara, and the contractor Ariski Ali Ariski. I want to thank the officers of the Office of the Vice President, the National Roads Authority, GAMWorks, the different branches of the security forces. My final thanks, ladies and gentlemen, goes to His Excellency, the President Adama Barrow, for his support, for his leadership, and for his vision. As you may all notice by now, this is, if you care to notice, that this country is moving forward. His Excellency is in the lead, and nothing can stop this.
I am delighted to be here today to celebrate with you the inauguration of the magnificent Sukuta to Jambanjeli Road. At this juncture, allow me to declare the Sukuta to Jambanjeli Road officially open. I thank you all for your kind attention.
Yes.